All right, I'll say greetings this evening of your time as you create time. How are you all? Oh, all right. Thank you. Allow me to begin this interaction with the entitlement. Transcendental point of view. Allow again me to begin by defining 5 phases of awareness or consciousness. Number 1, existence. And this, in a sense, you can say is the essence of all that is. It is eternal, always has existed, always will exist, and simply is, period. Now, the first separation from existence, beingness, allows a reflection of that existence itself, and is sometimes termed by us to be knowingness. However, allow us to expand a bit on the idea of this separation. You, as you say, are only able to see your physical body with your physical eyes if in some way you are able to once remove yourself, so to speak. Now, one way you do this on your planet is what you would label your mirror. And perhaps you can say to some degree your photographs function in much of that way. They allow you to remove your point of view from yourself to look at yourself, seemingly from outside. Now understand, this self-awareness always exists within you. And you have the ability to reflect upon yourself, self-reflect, be self-aware, only because you contain the aspect or the trait of being able in that sense to stand outside of yourself, so to speak, and look, quote unquote, back to yourself. Now, this tells you a few things. First of all, it tells you that you are firmly connected to non-physicality. You are physical beings. And some of your society from time to time will assume that you are only physical beings, that you live in physical bodies, are the results in that sense of these bodies. And when you, quote unquote, die, you simply cease to exist. In that sense, the supposition is that you are mechanical, and in that way are the product of electrochemical interactions rather than the intersection of consciousness with physical reality. Now allow us to illuminate as to why this is a contradiction of terms. For if you were, in that sense, hardwired in such a way, you would not have the ability to stand outside of yourself and reflect back to yourself. You would not have the ability to change, to adapt, to expand, to reflect, to define yourself, to evaluate that definition and then decide if you wish to change. In that sense, what allows you to do that is your ability to step outside and seemingly view yourself from another point of view. And this ability is your direct evidence of your existence extending into non-physical reality. For you are a product of all the realities in that sense, or you are creating all the realities that you experience. And though this is a physical reality, you are also, perhaps you can say, primarily, in a sense, non-physical beings. Your consciousness extends beyond and outside physicality as well as seeming to exist within it. So this particular reflection, this particular transcendental point of view is your indication of your connection to your non-physical self itself. Are you following along so far? So therefore, you may understand. When you, in that sense, are living in a particular area and have no frame of reference, you may perhaps think that that is all there is. But when you, perhaps using the analogy, climb a mountain, from that perspective of being outside of the valley, you can now see that you existed within the valley, but only from the perspective of standing outside of the valley itself. And the analogy extends, for were you not in some sense to allow some portion of your consciousness to be removed from your planet itself via your spacecraft, you would not truly know beyond the shadow of a doubt that you are on a planet. But the moment that you do, you may understand that you are. So the removal, the stepping outside, the stepping back allows you to see from another point of view who and what you are. And you always have that ability to reflect on yourself, to reflect back to yourself what it is in that sense you desire and what it is in that sense you have created up till this point. So you can always utilize your transcendental point of view. For in any given moment, though you may define in that moment that this is all there is, that these circumstances are my only choices, if you will but in your consciousness step back, not, shall we say, immediately act, particularly when what you are creating is a attitude of non-preferential emotion. You can always use your transcendental point of view to do just that. Take that step back before you act. For as we have shared, it is the actions themselves that create the physical reality, that change and mold your physical life. So therefore, knowing an idea in and of itself does not create it into your reality. It is the actions that you take. Continuing on from existence to knowingness, and again, knowingness is standing outside and being able to look back. The next three gradations or phases or states of consciousness or awareness we have discussed many times. They are belief, emotion, and thought. And the belief, emotion, and thought package, if you will, are one of the definitions within physical reality. So you will find that as you do begin to extend your senses beyond physical reality, as you do entertain the idea of yourself extending into non-physical reality, you will begin to experience this from the first person point of view. When you are in your nighttime sleeping dream, you are, in a sense, still physical, in a sense. And we have discussed many times that this waking dream and that nighttime dream are both dreams, but differ in their definitions, differ in their parameters. One of the fundamental differences in the two dreams are that your nighttime sleeping dream need not necessarily create belief, emotion, and thought. And while you are in that state, very often you will simply operate, so to speak, from pure knowingness, from that particular first separation from existence itself. So to some degree, you can say, to a very high degree, in your nighttime sleeping dream, you are already experiencing this. But you can begin to experience it in this reality first simply by recognizing that this is so. And recognizing that, again, when you do reflect, when you are speaking to yourself about yourself, you are doing so from that transcendental point of view. And that particular place or space of self-evaluation is always the place from which you can choose any action that you wish. So if you feel that there are particular actions that are simply automatic in your life and continually yield the result you do not prefer, simply take a step back. Take a step back and look again at what it is you are about to do, how it feels, how you think, and what again you will actually do with that particular premise. Then, from your transcendental point of view, from slightly removed step back, allow your imagination to create the template, the referential, preferential you. Simply your being aware that you can always step back is all it takes to always have that as a choice in any given moment. This will allow you now to only proceed in action consciously according to preference rather than in an automatic fashion, yielding a result you say you don't prefer. And there are many examples in the individuals present this evening who can, in this sense, attest to this fact. So therefore, whenever you wish, again, we never force you to grow too quickly or to have too much fun. Whenever you wish, you can simply take a few steps back, look and evaluate where you are at and where it is you wish to be. If the actions you are taking are leading you in that direction, by all means continue. But if not, that transcendental point of view is your transcendental point of power. For once you have transcended the automatic feature that you define in your reality, you have transcended now the tendency to act in a way that you do not prefer. Again, this ability is your indication, is your evidence, if you wish, to your direct connection to your non-physical self. When in your sleeping dream, you have a thought and the scene simply changes around you without seeming to have gone through the emotions, the thoughts, and the actions. This is what creating from direct knowingness allows. And this is what you can actually do in this reality, though perhaps your particular timing is such that you will choose for a little while longer to enjoy or to play around in your physical reality with the agreements that you have put into place, rather than forsaking them, simply owning up to the fact that you have agreed to create this type of reality. And therefore, now that you know that, you can choose to simply assume that this is so, and now you get to have, shall we say, the fun of figuring out how you will create it according to preference. Now that you know you are creating it, it is simply a matter of how you will proceed to create the life, to create the reality you say you prefer. Before we proceed to the interaction, to the exchange of information between our respective civilizations, allow me to share one more thing. It will always be the choice of all individuals to believe that we exist or not. Now, how is this possible, you ask? I'll tell you. As we have shared again many times, there are an infinite number of probable realities. Therefore, you can say literally an infinite number of parallel Earths. Individuals who simply wish not to face that portion of themselves get to have that reality just as well. From your perspective, from your point of view, many people may appear to simply disappear, either literally die or simply never to be seen again. And you may understand that this is a function of the fact that you all have the free will to decide whether or not you are ready in that sense to open up to more portions of yourself. And the reason that we highlight that particular fact is that is the only thing that allows us to interact with you. That is, in a sense, you can say, what we are symbolic of. Portions of yourself that you have not yet been willing or ready to look at. Again, you are everything, so you contain it all. So our mere ability to interact with you in this way is your indication that at least you, as a kernel, as a nucleus, are, in that sense, to the point where you wish to interact with us and wish to begin to expose to yourself, one by one, aspects that you have perhaps been stuffing in a closet. Perhaps you are now realizing that there is simply nothing that you can possibly learn about yourself. Nothing that you can possibly learn about yourself that you cannot use in a positive way. Even if all you learn is that I do not prefer that portion of myself. If when you find out you do not prefer a particular portion, the secret to allowing yourself to choose something else is very simple. And again, has been discussed by us many times. And that is validating the choice you don't prefer. Not choosing the choice you do prefer because of how much better it is than the choice you don't. Your willingness to validate the choices you do not prefer is how you use them in a positive way. And then, by then equalizing those choices and choosing the choice that you prefer as an equal choice, yes, that other choice still exists within you. Where are you going to put it? There's nowhere to get rid of it to. But it has no relativity, no relevance to you. It is irrelevant. So therefore, it will seem in that sense to have less weight. And only were you able to allow this to happen by validating it, paradoxically. So therefore, again, we remind you, you can always equalize all your choices by validating the choices you do not prefer. And we have as a reference provided that perhaps you can define validation as something having the right and the reason to exist, as all things do. All things have the right to exist, and they explore a particular line of reason. And being that God is all that is, it is all part of all that is. So there are no dark corners lurking within all that is where things hide. No. And since that by extension means that your choices are a part and parcel of a vibration within all that is itself, your act of validating it mimics the validation of all things within all that is by all that is. All that is validates everything within it. And when you validate things you do not prefer, you are acting like all that is. You are displaying unconditional love and acceptance. This does not mean you need to condone a reality you don't prefer. But shall we say, by getting, as you say in your slang, heavy with something you don't prefer, you match it. You place attention upon it. You keep it suspended right there in your life. And that is the mechanism. That is how invalidation actually gives more weight rather than less. So the simple act of saying, all right. Obviously, I don't prefer this. Obviously, I don't condone it. However, I am now going to establish my transcendental point of view. Step back. Can I see in my mind of minds that it serves a reason for someone else? Well, yes, obviously. Therefore, I can even find a rational reason why it has the right and reason to exist. And you can always do this in any way without condoning it. Acknowledge it as a reality for someone else. This puts it back out there and allows that many more options for both yourself, but also everyone else. Therefore, allow us to share our particular point of view with you. For that is all any of you are anyway. When you really get down to it, when you strip away, in that sense, your past, your future, your physical requirements, all you are is a point of view. One of the infinite number of points of view. One of the infinite number of eyes of creation. And you can spell that either way. Therefore, allow us to interact from our point of view to your respective points of view, in joy, in love, as equals. And therefore I ask you now, how may we mutually be of service to each other? Sharing. Nice.
Hi, Elan.
Greetings.
Good evening. I thank you for your introduction. It was perfect for what I came here to talk about.
And we thank you for burning so brightly.
My dreams have been I've been remembering them more clearly than ever and more really than ever.
Yes, you are dissolving the line. It is simply another point of view, no less real than this one. And we thank you.
Yes. And I had the question yesterday, what could I do to dissolve the line even more, where I could do exactly what you said in the beginning, which was let go more of the belief, the thought, and the emotion as...
Well, again, you need not deny these things, for they are part of the agreement of the fabric of this reality. But again, to key you back into how to do this, do what excites you in any given moment from what's available with integrity. And you will find that almost everything that we ever discuss, no matter how elaborate, no matter how illustrative, no matter how helpful, always boils down to that one simple thing. For when you are doing that thing, you are being who you are. You are not denying anything about yourself. When you make a statement openly to the universe that you are now willing to be who you are, all the portions that are representative of who you are not come to the surface so that from your transcendental point of view, you can acknowledge them. For it is the denial of them and the invalidation of them that has allowed them in that sense to exist in a bottled up fashion. So by being who you are, in action, which is the doing of the exciting thing with integrity, you are living your dream. You are walking in your dream. And you will notice physiologically when it begins to serve your purposes, for again, you are agreeing to interact with other individuals with particular specifics in place to assist each other. But you will literally find some of the definitions going back and forth from one dream to another. Do proceed.
I do find that.
And perhaps ask yourself, well, did that happen or did I dream that? And the answer is both.
Yes. The dream from a couple nights ago took me to a place called Altara. And what I felt when I was getting there was it was a very urgent mission or something.
Oh, all right. How exciting.
It was really exciting.
Urgent mission. All right.
And I had to dig and I had to come up with the methods exactly how to get there and follow the directions. But the directions only came moment to moment, and I had to choose every moment and slip through some sort of gateway.
Well, how spontaneous.
It was wonderful. And getting there, I was a symbol for these Altaran, or whatever they call themselves, that we're accelerating here in this society and this consciousness physically.
Ace. Very literally. and also understand in no uncertain terms that you are already aware of this to some degree in your sleeping dream reality. For in that particular presentation of your point of view, you do display more of your non-physical characteristics. Therefore, in that state, you very often interact literally with other consciousness, other societies. And in fact, you will find that very often individuals from your society, particularly of the ilk present this evening, assist and aid and teach and act as guides for other individuals in that state. And you are literally being of assistance to what you would consider other consciousness. Therefore, in a sense, you can say that was a symbol of a literal occurrence, a literal arrangement that you have, as many of you do. In fact, on some level, all of you. For, shall we say, you do quite a bit of learning by the teaching.
And so that was a neat thing to share. And I just wanted to share my joy in the interactions with the children on your planet and in what they've taught me about the children on this planet in reflecting us.
Yes. And understand that you can also point out to your children the concepts of excitement, the concepts of integrity. We suggest, when pointing out the concepts of excitement to what you label children, that you highlight in no uncertain terms excitement from what's available in the moment. That is what will enable them to begin to gather up from their transcendental point of view the choices and only always pick the one with their integrity that excites them. Then they will not, as you sometimes say you do, this is not literally true anyway, but we understand, they will not then later need to unlearn your, shall we say, ecstatic explosion of obligation. Not yours personally. Is that all?
Yes.
Allow us then to thank you.
Yeah.
Sharing, ace.
Greetings.
And to you. Good day.
Hi. Well, I've been experiencing a period of accelerated growth.
Oh, not you too.
Yes. It's
Oh, good.
been very pleasurable.
All right.
And I'm hoping that you can talk about it a little bit. I have been experiencing new streams of energy in my body. And
Ace.
especially coming in through my throat and streaming down my legs.
It is simply, very simply, a product of the fact that you have removed the resistance. You are now beginning to flow with who you are. When you do what excites you, you are being who you are. When you see that something within your integrity excites you and you do something else, you are resisting who you are. To whatever degree you are willing to apply this, what you are speaking of is the result, the literal result, the beginning, or perhaps you can say the initiation of the ecstatic explosion of continual coincidence and synchronicity, bringing you everything you say you desire. Very exciting.
Yes, it is very exciting. I've also, at the same time, been experiencing an acceleration of my psychic sight.
That is, by the way, part and parcel again of going with your flow. For again, psychic ability requires, in that sense, unconditional empathy. And if you are resisting who you are not that likely to allow other people to be who they are. When you allow them to be who they are and establish an empathic synchronization, this is what allows this to occur. And you will again all find to some degree an increase in that type of vibrational discernment, which is again a sense, much as your five senses are. And this will be one of the many, all right, perks you can expect.
Can you talk a little bit about the visions that I've been having when I work with Emily and also when I look in the mirror at myself?
Describe.
I see it seems as though I go into another sense of almost a dimension of color, and my hearing changes. The vibration of the room changes. I will see, when I look at this person, I will see her take on many different forms. I see myself take on many different forms.
We understand.
When I look in the mirror and look into my left eye, I go into a whole visionary experience of me changing forms. It's almost like I'm being communicated with by myself.
Ace. And we thank you for providing a concrete, if you will, example of shifting your point of view to a transcendental point of view. For this is all in that sense that you are doing. Once you assume that transcendental point of view, there are a myriad of ways that you can experience it, and that is one. But it is that ability to remove yourself, so to speak, that allows you to feel that. And now that you are, shall we say, exercising those muscles, you will find it to be easier and easier. Is it assisting you, and in what way are you able to use the information in your life that you get?
It's assisting me because I feel firmly connected to my strength now.
Nice.
And I feel the sense of what the possible is.
Nice.
And I feel more expansive, and I feel more joy.
Then allow me to simply say to you, congratulations. You are living your dream right now. It will always be up to you from this moment forward to continue to be this you. And should you find at some point there is a portion of your consciousness, as you still create portions, less and less, that says, I'm backsliding, this is the old me, step back, assume that transcendental point of view, and simply remind yourself that the old you had none of this information. So therefore, it cannot be literally the old you, but it is showing you that you are so powerful that you can, even with that knowledge, temporarily assume that point of view once more. Nothing is lost, and you will always have that as an option. We thank you. Shedding. Ace, male, bold male.
Yes. Elan, nice to be with you this evening.
Pleasure to sense you as well.
I've been introduced to a young lady
Ace, so have we.
close to my home. We'll say the community is East Providence. Her name is Terry Cabral. She has had 3 sightings of a triangular craft,
Good number.
which I sense to be Essassani.
Ace,
The most recent one was in April of this year,
ace.
and I call it a very amazing sighting.
All right, we thank you.
Not only was it Essassani, but it was as close as 15 feet to her, as we can realize that. She saw this ship on 2 other occasions. Of course, her first reaction was complete fright.
By the way, this was due to the proximity itself. The physical proximity. Do proceed.
I've been working with her to help her. I just wanted to know if there is a significance to this.
Absolutely none. Next sharing. Only kidding.
Specifics.
To the degree, how can I help her?
Simply in whatever way you find is most natural for you to do so. Again, understanding that you need not convince her of anything. Simply share what it is that you feel would be appropriate for her. Allow her to make her own decisions. And she will. For understand from our perspective, the presentation of our craft in that way was to provide a catalyst, was to provide a trigger, as often are the cases with presentations of this type, to allow that individual to begin to look in no uncertain terms at many of the ways that she has chosen to define herself, many of the ways that she has chosen to define her reality, her world, and many of the surprises that lurk both within and without her. Therefore, is there something specific you are seeking?
I want to know if she had also had a pre-agreement.
Ace.
I thought so.
Now understand again that we are particularly non-obnoxious from your perspective. So therefore, it will always be up to her.
Yes.
Never will we break the door down. Perhaps we will ring the bell. Perhaps we will even knock from time to time. But always will it be her choice to open the door or say, nobody's home.
Thank you. I have one other question.
Ace.
Some time ago, as you might remember, my son Clifford and a friend of his had a private session with you.
Ace.
And his friend was very interested in the possibility of channeling. And
What's his friend waiting for?
his friend is not. In fact, his friend is doing some channeling.
Ace.
And it's coming along fine, but there is a little bit of a problem.
All right, but what?
Maybe you can help us.
All right, maybe.
It appears that there are other entities that intercede at different times.
Not really.
Maybe you can help us in a way.
Ace, understand, very often when individuals begin to open up to many energies, to new ideas, to particular agreements and connections that they have, because the consciousness that they communicate with, particularly in this instance, is more expanded, not by way of a judgment, simply an observation in terms of point of view. The initial interpretation into your more focused reality can be as more than one being. But that is the multidimensional nature of the expanded version that the consciousness is. Is this translating?
Yes.
So it can seem like, in that sense, many individuals, and will generally in these instances, though not always, coagulate to one particular point of view. Now, if mixed in with these presentations, there are ones that are non-preferential. They are, shall we say, herself, or aspects thereof. Her doubts, her fears, her hesitations. Proceed.
Thank you. That was very helpful. I have one other question. I'm also a hypnotherapist, and I'm working with two people that have been having some problems because of detainments, we call them.
Ace. Thank you.
And could you give me some information on the entity, extraterrestrial entity that I would describe as insect and has the facial features of a praying mantis?
Very often, this will simply be the interpretation from a particular frame of reference of reticulum beings themselves. And due to the, shall we say, presentation of the eyes and the particular, shall we say, shape of the head, there is often that particular filing of identification. But it is our perspective in the instance that you are speaking of that it is direct reticulum. Also understand, there are several, shall we say, races or body types of that civilization, including some interaction tangentially, which we will not discuss in detail, which would make the presentation of other seeming body types. So the ones that are quote unquote more alien looking are the ones more prone to be identified or compared to insect. If an individual interacts with the more human looking ones, then this may not be the case. Is this clear?
Yes, it is. Thank you very much.
And to you, for we wish in that sense to clear up. There is a misconception. One of the ones that we are aware of through the channel is that there are insect-like beings from the constellation of Orion invading our Earth. And from our perspective, this is simply a misidentification and assumptions made based on fear. Is there something else?
Not right now.
All right.
Thank you.
Sharing, ace, female.
It's really great to be here.
It's really great to be there as well.
I want to ask you if you can shed any light for me on a relationship that's come into my life. And it's kind of a very different feeling. And I seem to believe that this connection, like I found an old relative from many centuries ago. And I'd like you to tell me if there's anything you can say about that. Very strong pull to this person.
Interestingly enough, in this particular instance, we are inclined to suggest that the connections that you establish are the connections that you have here, now, in this life. What is most important about the symbol and the message of what you are sharing is what is to occur, not what has, in that sense. And if you will simply stay grounded in where and how it is, then some of these past ideas will come up in perfect timing. But right now, the presentation of them to you would be a distraction rather than allowing you to live in that way. So perhaps not what you wish to have heard, but from our perspective, this is what will be of most assistance to you in this instance. Would you like another question?
Yes. We're talking, a lot of people are talking about dreams and sleep. And I guess I'd like to ask you, I have some kind of fear about going to sleep because when I dream, it seems like I'm in, war, and I wake up exhausted. I'm obviously afraid of a lot of things, but is there a practical something I could be doing before I go to sleep to kind of work through the fear or acknowledge it?
Well, again, feel it. Establish what you believe. But perhaps the most helpful thing that we can in that sense suggest would be to assume your transcendental point of view and make the decision that no matter what is chasing you, you will turn around and face it. No matter what the form of the particular conflict is, that you will simply extend your hand and make peace. What you are, in that sense, experiencing is, again, the notion within you that there are portions within you that perhaps you fear to look at. But again, we remind you that there is nothing within you that you cannot use in a positive way to allow yourself to continually be the person you prefer. Is there something obvious that comes up when this is shared?
You mean about the fear? Or I don't know.
About the particular scenario you are describing as warlike.
Oh, well, I'm in the middle of a divorce, so there's a lot of, I have battles about what my heart wants to do and what my lawyer wants me to do.
All right. Well, again, it is always up to you from that transcendental point of view to choose either. And we assume that you mean by your heart's point of view, the point of view you feel is most representative of who you are. Therefore, it would always be our particular approach to follow that. And trust that whatever the outcome, you know what you're doing.
Okay.
And again, this is extending, perhaps you can say you are extending it into many aspects of your consciousness. But when you make peace in that sense with yourself, and then reflect that inner peace by being willing to embody outer peace, then you will no longer have an underlying representation of conflict. Perhaps the shortest answer is ultimately following your heart will achieve this. But that is up to you. We have no lawyers.
Great.
That's terrific.
Nor would we judge if we did.
Oh. Okay.
Touché.
One more question. I don't know if you can answer this one about a type of yoga which this person has introduced to me and this person in this new relationship.
All right. Describe.
I'm not sure, but it's called Hatha yoga, and the claim is that it's a very powerful, practical way of, I guess, being in that who you are state at all times, a way to help you focus.
Well, how helpful can you, in that sense, describe the process?
It's meditation and with chakras and energy, and I'm just starting it, but it doesn't seem too different from any other kind of meditation or being here and you know, vibrating with where you are. But there seems to be some fear that they seem to project about you need to do it this particular way or it won't work. And I have trouble with that. And
Well, we always suggest allowing your imagination to cater anything to you and to trust that. So our perspective would differ from that. But again, all of these ideas collectively are simply tools. And when they work for you, use them. If they no longer work for you, acknowledge them having any role in aiding and assisting you, and then allow yourself to attract whatever new tool in that sense will now represent who you are. But it is up to you. One thing we will share from our point of view, it is not the only way. It is one way. If it excites you, go right ahead. That indication tells you that that will allow you to accelerate most quickly into the frame of mind you are saying you wish to be. But if it does not excite you, trust that as well. Trust what does excite you. And without invalidating any gift offered by another individual, you can simply say, well, thank you very much. I already have a gift. No, thank you, but thank you. Here is my gift, and share what does excite you with them. This way you are each offering what it is you have to offer, believing in the power of what you have to offer as to not then convince them, and giving the ultimate gift of living by example. Now, are you excited about this process?
it's very peaceful. So in that way, yeah, it helps me to find some peace.
All right. Now understand that you will create whatever changes occur in your life. Many times individuals will only validate those changes or allow themselves to believe, if they believe they need to, that they've earned those changes with the creation of elaborate set of steps or process so that they could actually have earned it. And that is a valid way. That is a valid way in that sense to allow yourself to transform, supplying yourself with the symbols that enable that allowance. But you can simply, again, always in any now moment, since that is the only experiential moment, and each now moment is a complete package, simply decide to be that person. In the moment that you conjure it up, in the moment that you decide it, you are that person. Then it is simply a matter of how you will then choose to proceed. Will you now in the next moment choose to be the old person again, so to speak? Or will you trust that you have changed and apply that trust as actions that are consistent with the new you? Perhaps you will remind yourself from time to time that you are already the new you. So therefore, this old approach no longer applies to the new me. Now let me, through my imagination, supply an alternative from the new me. And then your processing will be automatic. For in perfect timing, your negative emotions will come up. If there are underlying beliefs there, you will trace them back, and one by one, with no effort, in perfect timing, with the flow, in the flow, automatically create and integrate and transform all these pieces that you seemingly create. So it is completely up to you. But it is a valid tool. And to you.
Elan.
Ace.
Elan.
Ace.
From a transcendental.
By the way,
By
greetings.
Greetings. From a transcendental point of view, when you look at Bashar, or you look at yourself, or you look at one of us, what do you observe? What to see all that is? Do you see all of us? What do you see?
Can differ, and it will depend again upon my particular focus. I could physically, were I to be in proximity to you, perceive you with my eyes as a physical being. So with other members of my own society, we can perceive each other utilizing the senses in much the way you do. But we can also, in that sense, stand back and perceive aspects of each other that you may say do extend into non-physicality. Particularly now that we are at the end of our fourth density, the end of our physical experience, and beginning to transition into our non-physical experience, we now, in that sense, are able to connect more readily with the non-physical portion of each individual. So again, it will simply depend on the purposes for the interaction and what it is we wish to observe. However, there is always an underlying acknowledgement and appreciation that anything that we are viewing from our point of view is simply another aspect or expression of ourselves and all that is. So there is this underlying understanding, perhaps you can say we take that for granted, and how we physically perceive each other will vary depending upon the purposes for the interaction. Did that answer the question?
Somewhat.
All right. If not, please, in that sense, request clarification and very clearly do so.
When you breathe, how do you breathe?
Similar to yourself.
Do you do rhythmatic breathing? Do you like breathe in, hold it, and then breathe out, hold it?
What you would perceive if we again are understanding the question is we breathe much as yourself. In that sense, when not quote unquote paying attention to it, it is quite automatic and will vary perhaps sometimes, though less, according to our activity and so forth. Again, similar to yourself. But when in that sense we wish to access particular frames of mind, even in this point in our particular development, yes, we will consciously alter and consciously unitize our breath, somewhat similarly, though a bit different, to how you perceive the respiration of the channel alters when we, in a sense, link up with him. But we will do what you might sometimes consider or call in your planet yogic style breathing to achieve a particular state of mind. That is one way.
Would you describe it?
Just simply, again, very deep, rhythmic, full breaths, drinking in all of reality, relishing it for a moment, and simply then letting out the portions which are not, in that sense, representative of who we are, and you can perhaps say maintaining the portions that are. Did that translate?
Yes, thank you.
All right. Shedding. Female.
Yes, Elan. Hello.
Greetings and good day. For upon my planet it is day.
Good day. You had said that when my mother passed from this reality to the next reality that you would be there to assist her. And I was wondering if she had an easy transference.
Ace, now understand that our particular assistance is what you may label peripheral,
Yes.
tangential. We do not, in this sense,
Yeah.
appear in the form that we are in. For that, perhaps you can say, would frighten many individuals.
Well, was your energy there?
Yes.
Yes.
And perhaps, in a sense, more in the form of an old friend.
Tell me, or can you tell me the love and light that I have been sending in the prayers that
Absolutely received, but shall we say by more than just one?
Thank you. That she is aware of
To some degree.
yes.
That particular aspect, the rendering of your unconditional love, serves as an anchor to some degree. However, there is a new orientation you can say, that takes place, and she is in the midst of that. So you may find there are times where you simply do not sense her presence. This is because the flow of time in that reality differs from your own, and whereby but moments may seem to pass in her perception of time when not synchronized to your perception of time. This may translate as days, weeks, months, or sometimes even years to you.
So just as I'm learning here, she's learning there.
Oh, yes. You never, did he say never? I think so. Oh, thank you. Never cease to grow. Never cease to expand. It is, perhaps you can say, one of the paradoxes of reality. 4, you already contain it all, and yet you never cease to grow and expand. These two concepts seem mutually exclusive. They are not. From a physical point of view or perspective, maybe they appear that way. From a transcendental point of view, when you begin to perceive paradox, you are firmly connected to the non-physical portion of yourself. For only there is there the allowance of the existence of all things, even things which seem contradictory or paradoxical.
So at some point in my time and space here, will she be able to come to me?
Ace, but it is not her job in that sense to do so. So what it will generally be perceived as from you is a simple nudge, and not to nudge that you should do this or you should do that. Perhaps one way you can put it is that she gently assists you, lures you to more of yourself. So it will always, again, be your option to act upon it or not. But no one does anything for you, not even from that end. And to you. Ace.
Hi.
Greetings.
I would like to know why two people are in my life, or have been in my life. For 4.5 years, I've been going through a negative situation or difficult situation.
Are you sure you want to know? And will it dishearten you that it is very simple?
A reflection? Because I have examined all that. I know it's a co-creation, so...
All right. It is very simple. That has been the time that you have been willing, perhaps not knowing that there was any other possibility, to continually settle for less than you feel yourself to be. And as significant is the timing right now that you have finally decided no more. I will not settle for less than I am. And now all the symbols in my life that have been in place that represent my willingness to settle for less are falling by the wayside, so to speak. Very simple.
Was there anything symbolic in there being one last eruption from the landscape?
There are several ideas that are relevant, but what we see as being relevant to point out is your unwillingness to match his vibration. Your willingness to maintain as a reflection an alternative to his point of view.
And the lighting also?
To whatever degree you are willing to, yes. For you show them, no matter how you are acting, I do not act that way. Here is how I act. See an example of this way to be. I see an example of how you are. But if I retaliate, I am matching who you are. And I am showing you that it is okay to be the way that you are. See, here I am that way too.
I just couldn't understand why they were in my life.
Well, perhaps you cannot understand immediately, initially, why you have been willing to settle for less. And again, it can simply be a matter of not necessarily believing 100% that you had the choice. And creating the symbols in your life to force yourself to see that you have the choice.
I'd also.
Does this fit?
Yeah.
All right. You sound a bit unsatisfied, and it is not our desire that our communications have that effect. But when you look at much of what we are discussing,
No, I think that's the.
it is, in a sense, representative of what you are asking.
It is, and I'll have to listen to it again.
And we applaud you for your willingness to now only be willing to represent by at least validating to any degree your excitement, your integrity, that willingness to take the actions that are consistent with that, we applaud.
Thank you. Can you tell me what happened to the $215 that disappeared?
No.
I knew you were going to say that. Then what is the lesson?
Please,
For $250, you want a lesson.
please tell me. Now, perhaps you are analyzing a bit too much. The obvious. What is the most obvious thing that that particular incident allowed you to see about yourself?
Well, the interesting thing is,
Well, there's an interesting thing. All
Yes.
right, we're getting somewhere.
when I talked about it, I said, yeah, I'm really upset I lost, but I really wasn't upset
Ace.
at all. It was like it was never there in the first place, but I know it was.
All right. And that is only one. What else?
That's all that I figure out.
All right.
Careless.
Then simply utilizing that one example. How do you feel but a few months or years ago you would have reacted in a similar situation? All right. So now that you have a place to start in looking at how it serves you, anytime you feel the urge to view that symbol again, trust the timing of it and then go a step further. But by asking us and us telling you, this does not empower you to take, shall we say, the action of the gleaning by yourself. And this is our desire. Though we revel in interacting and sharing with you, and will continue to do so to whatever degree you are willing, we, in a sense, wish to begin to take a little bit of a step back and allow you to do, you to evaluate, you to make choices and decisions so that if we are busy gallivanting about the universe, you can still live your life.
Okay, so the only thing I got from that is that I'm not reacting the same way I would have reacted a year ago.
And therefore, you did not lose anything. You have yourself. And nothing can ultimately be lost. Perhaps it can misplace itself.
Will it come back?
This is unclear. It is possible.
Great. I have two more little questions. I've been getting some, for lack of a better description, skin things. Is this a residual effect from perhaps what the animals didn't take on?
Ace, literally. And simply, when you find any situation in your life whereby you have a communication to make it. Deliver it. Do not let anything, as you sometimes say, bottle up. Your willingness to be that open, to trust that who you are is what whoever you interact with needs to see, needs in that sense, and has attracted to themselves to explore, then you will notice the cessation of the inner pressure.
Cough has been getting quite violent.
It is directly related to that as well. So simply, now that you are not willing to settle for less than who you are, who you define yourself to be, your true self, tell people about it. Do not withhold communications. Trust that your communications are a gift. Both of those symbols will then transform.
I'm entering the chrysalis on Monday.
All right.
Can you maybe say something that will
besides have a good time.
All right. Pleasant dreams. For you will be very busy in your nighttime dream reality.
Thank you.
And to you. At this timing, it's only a break. Allow us to pause for a short break and resume contact in 10 to 15 minutes of your counting. All right, I'll say, before we continue, allow me to say a few more things. We discussed the idea of point of view and understand that each point of view is another sensorial input, if you will, to all that is. Again, you are the eyes of creation. You are also the ears, the nose, the hands. But understand that the concept of multiple points of view allow all that is to access many different angles, many different aspects of creation. If you wish to use the analogy the channel just has, by establishing more than one point of view, you can get around an issue, literally. You, in general, will proceed from your point of view and perceive through your point of view only the things which are consistent with your point of view. And this may vary quite greatly from the point of view of other individuals. However, what is being viewed, so to speak, is the same one thing. And one of the things that allows the differentiation of points of view, perhaps you can say, is the rate of your consciousness, the rate of your perception. Allow us, before we proceed, to use an analogy that we have used before. You have what you call a spinning propeller. Can you picture that? Feel free to say yes at any time. Oh, thank you. Now, you have what you call a strobe light. Are you to synchronize that strobe light to the propeller so that for each one revolution of the propeller, the light goes on once? What you will perceive is the propeller seeming to stand perfectly still. Is that clear? Now understand. The point at which you begin your strobe determines the position that you will initially see the propeller in. It also determines the only position that you will see the propeller in. Now, were you able to synchronize your strobe in this way and without interfering with your strobe, perceive in that sense the strobe of another, perhaps slightly out of sync with your own, so that perhaps the propeller was in a slightly different position when the strobe was initiated? That other point of view will see what appears to be a different propeller, or perhaps you can say a propeller in a different position. Is that also clear? Therefore, understand that one event, one propeller, but according to the timing and the rate of the strobe, determines how you perceive that one event. And the differentiation in rate and timing of, perhaps you can say, the strobe of your consciousness, is what allows there to be many different interpretations, many different presentations of that one thing. So therefore, your own life is, but again, a point of view that you perceive according to the rate and timing of your consciousness itself. Therefore, simply in sharing this with you, are we wishing to express that point of view is what enables you to perceive diversity, enables you to perceive, in fact, the same one thing as many different aspects, many different realities, many different presentations. So therefore, you are truly multi-dimensional creators. And in one sense, at least you can say that you have synchronized your strobes, at least in the aspect of agreeing to co-create a similar seeming, quote unquote, same reality. In order for us to interact with you, we make, perhaps you can say, particular adjustments in our rate and timing of consciousness. But we find we do contain the ability to make these synchronizations. And therefore, due to this ability on our part, we again thank you for your receptivity and again ask, how may we be of service to you? Sharon, Ace.
Elan,
One moment, female.
I have, hi. I wanted to send regards to Bashar.
Well, thank you. Regards in that sense are felt, and we thank you. For the channel, perhaps you can tell him for us that there was a particular dream that he had, whereby he perceived that he had agreed to provide an interaction of this type. But in the dream, he perceived that he personally needed to be responsible for the content, and therefore created anxiety, created fear, created lots of relatives and interesting amounts of people coming to that particular interaction that he perceived he had no idea what he would say. Allow us to simply share the symbology of that. And that is that when individuals are channeling, they need not take responsibility in any way for how another person takes the information. Period. That is the only message from that. All a channel can simply do is to communicate the concepts in a clear and fluid way that are coming through. From our perspective, the concepts that we render are exactly the concepts from our point of view that will be of most service to an individual. But once they are, shall we say, put out, it is then up to any individual to do what they will. So you cannot truly be responsible for how someone decides to take and use or not take and not use the information. Simply, this was a symbological representation of that particular exploration. And we thank you again.
Thank you.
Back there, male.
Elan, I've been experiencing flux in my business, personal, family, and domestic life.
Well, how exciting.
It is exciting. It's given me an opportunity to define who I am in these matters and in these areas of my life. It's also caused me to bring the question, to bring up questions like, what am I up to? Why am I here?
Well, all those questions lead you directly back to your excitement.
Exactly.
For that's the answer to these questions. And what you are exploring, amongst other things, is, are you truly doing what you are doing because it excites you or because you don't think you have another choice?
Fine. And that's the comment you have on this process I'm going through.
Well, that particular aspect of it, do proceed.
I was going to ask for any comments that you had on this process that I'm going through in the last couple of weeks.
It is simply, again, allowing yourself, or perhaps in certain terms, forcing yourself to evaluate your situation and allow you to run through your situation in terms of what excites you, what is representative of who you are, what moves you, and what does not. And then look at why you would continue to do the things that do not excite you.
Thank you. Two more things.
In a sense, you can say separating your wheat from your chaff.
Well, one concern that came up in that regard is I start doing something, say a project, in order to enable me to do another project. And I can get so wrapped up in the initial project that it begins to expand out of proportion. to its original concept and its original purpose.
Well, does this then not lead you to more exciting possibilities?
Well, it certainly could, but that's one of the things I'm looking at. Let me ask a specific question. I was in the car the other day en route to transact some business, and I felt, I realized that I was really low energy and I felt yucky.
Resisting yourself.
Well, yes, I suppose. But what I experienced was that I was surrounded by entities that were drawing upon me, were draining me, like low life yucky entities.
In a sense, you can say that this is symbolically the removal of responsibility. You need not take it literally.
Okay, well, what I did under the circumstances,
You are commiserating with portions of yourself, so to
I
speak.
shooed them away.
All right.
I shooed them away.
But again, to where?
Well, exactly.
Why not, in that sense, realize that they are your children? They are your creations as well. And rather than shooing them, embrace them and dialogue from your transcendental point of view at how they serve you, what their function is, allow them to deliver their message, and then you will notice they will be on their own way with no shooing.
Interesting. Pursuing their excitement, which is part of, which is a reflection of me pursuing my excitement.
Nice.
Another thing, when you brought up at the last interaction, the time machine, as you put it.
Was wondering how long this question would take. Do proceed.
Right. Upon hearing time machine, I flashed that that Lauren and I were aboard the time machine.
Oh, thank you.
Revealing ourselves to ourselves in the present moment.
Could not have said it better. Thank you for saving me the answer. But understand this, or perhaps you can say, and understand this. Since we have discussed butts with you before.
I'm a butt man, by the way.
Ace, we know. It would be mechanically imprecise to say that it was from your direct linear future. It is a parallel reality future. So it is a part of yourself, but it is not linearly, directly related to you. But it is an aspect of a probable future self that, in a sense, touched back and allowed you to see coming attractions, some of the possibilities.
Now, is that
And are you to, in this linear dimension, go forward, quote unquote, into a future and then travel in such a time machine, you will be skewing across to another parallel reality. We understand this does not translate well. Do proceed.
I follow. What is the significance of that occurrence?
Simply, again, communications from your future self that say you're doing just fine. Look at what's just ahead. A pep talk.
I get it. Let me ask this. Is it possible for us to take a journey aboard that craft?
In your imagination or your dream reality, or if you in that sense allow it, the astral state at this point. But physically, it is a possibility in your quote unquote future. That is what it was telling you. So remain grounded at what you can do right now. And if that is attractive to you, simply maintain it as an expectancy.
Well, more specifically, if a craft from a parallel future shows up, is it possible for me to go aboard that craft
Ace.
and take a journey?
Ace. It is possible.
It is possible.
In general, that will go against the grain of the agreements of such travelers.
So it's unlikely.
Ace. There is, in a sense, a non-interference approach from them. but it is possible.
And they weren't stretching the rules a bit just to show themselves to me?
No. It will always be your opportunity to believe that you saw it or not. If you are physically taken aboard a craft, perhaps it will not leave you that opportunity any longer.
I see. Did you comment on the unusual configuration of the craft and the equipment?
Simply that particular arrangement, that particular array, that particular sensor arrangement is conducive for time travel, that particular shape, rectangular.
And this craft very definitely does not move through space and time. Space and time moves around it. Is that so?
Ace. Very good. Now also, since you brought up these distinguishing characteristics, our particular craft are triangular versus your general usual saucer, because triangular is the most conducive shape that we have found for interdimensional penetration.
Due to what property?
Untranslatable. Because of the non-existence of technology on your end to use as an analogy.
Does it have to do with lines of force?
In the precise way that you mean, no.
I see. Now, does this craft move through time and space? I'm talking about the time machine. Does time and space move around it according to the same principles and or technology that your craft moves interdimensionally through time and space?
There are similarities, but there are many differences. And there are, shall we say, two sets of propulsion to that craft. And one does enable it to physically move within a reality at what you would call sublight speeds.
And when they actually move through time and space, or to a different time and different space, do they do so by altering the locational and time coordinates of the craft itself?
In that sense, it is similar to our own craft in that they isolate themselves and reinsert, if you will, themselves vibrationally. Yes.
And is it done by consciousness interface? Is it done by some type of mechanically generated magnetic field?
Well, interestingly enough, from our perspective, consciousness interface. From your perspective, or from the humans using it mechanically. But we do not make the removal. If the consciousness pushes the button, from our perspective, the consciousness in that sense is responsible.
So they're relying upon a computer to...
In a sense, you can call it that. It is, perhaps you can say, more self-aware, which the understanding of many of your scientists now is that would be impossible for a computer. So perhaps it would be renamed.
Have they reached a point where they can interface their consciousness with their computers of Warcraft? As you do?
Not as we do to some more of a surface-oriented degree. There is the beginnings of that now in that particular stream.
And is this craft more of a mechanical construction as opposed to yours being grown out of a living crystal?
Ace.
Okay, thank you very much.
And to you. Sharon. Over there, a venue.
Hi, Elan.
Greetings.
I wanted to mention that Andrew's T-shirt, if you can get a mental image of it, illustrates what the transcendental point of view of two hands.
And literally tells you that you draw yourself into your reality.
I really like that. Andrew put that on for this today.
All right.
And I just wanted to tell you, God, there's so many things. Thank you for the added energy for getting my car, and talking to Tony about the consciousness of the computer just made me laugh, because my car has consciousness and is very excited to be
All right.
with me.
Thank yourself, for it was the actions based on whatever information you perceived you had that created the reality, and nothing that we did.
Oh yes, I know.
Thank you. And you as well.
And well, I just wanted to talk about a little bit about another sort of dream that I had, which was
All right, sort how, dream. All right.
sort of it was a person that I interacted with for the first time in dream state as I perceive it in this physical form. And it's a person that I'll be meeting I am meeting in a parallel future. And he is very close to me, and we have a lot to do together in this lifetime. And I wanted to know if you're in contact with him at this moment.
No,
Okay,
but you are.
I know that. I was under the impression that I would meet him through my excitement in my journey with the extraterrestrial.
Yes, but not necessarily directly through them, but from the excitement of the journey itself.
Okay.
We thank you. Over there, male.
Elan,
Ace.
greetings.
And to you.
Over the past year and a half, I've been I've been applying.
Oh, yes, you have.
Well,
Can't fool me.
I've been applying the concept of following my excitement.
By the way, you have been applying it also. Yes.
And I feel like I have been, and I've been using it to find what my next job should be. And it's led me through a number of different ideas about what my job should be, where I've gone from one career goal to the next. And it's given me some time to grow spiritually, so I kind of feel that's the way it's supposed to be. But now financial pressures are bringing me to the point where I have to start working soon. And coincidentally, although I don't think it's a coincidence, my clarity on what I should be doing is also becoming much clearer.
Hey, synchronicity.
Yes, and I feel like I'm beginning to attract to me people that I, feel good about, which is important to me because I want to work with people that I like and like being with. And it seems like things are starting to come together.
As well they are, but may I ask you, what is this exciting thing, the vision of which you are now clarifying?
Well, I have a business background, and I thought I wanted to work with children and then in nonprofit management, but I've been kind of led back into using my business skills to do consulting to utilities to help them help their customers cut back on energy consumption so they don't have to build new plants and can cut back on generating greenhouse gases.
All right.
That's the next step. And I mean, what do you think?
Get shaking. You need not create the point at which you then force yourself to look at particular things by dropping out the bottom of your abundance. And your willingness to move now will allow you to never create that point.
Well, a lot of times I feel like I'm not doing enough.
Why?
Well, because I get this, and I'm not sure if it's an old critical belief system that that I'm never doing enough that's telling me this, or if it's my excitement telling me to do more.
All right. Well, again, when you say the belief, I am not doing enough, again, it feels a particular way. Can you conjure that up for me now?
Well,
And explain to me how that feels.
Well, yes, I wanted to, for example, last week I really wanted to have my resume.
All right, one moment. Without providing a hypothetical example, right now, state to yourself in your imagination, with your eyes closed if you prefer, the belief that you can never do enough. In this moment, isolate everything else out. How does that feel?
It feels really disempowering and uncomfortable, but unfortunately familiar.
All right. 'Tis all right. Did not say judge it. Now, can you see, feeling this way, that you will assume a particular attitude. That attitude, if the emotions you are feeling are negative, will in general be a negative attitude. Yes?
Yes.
And therefore, no matter what actions you perform, with that as an underlying premise, cannot help but subtly affect those actions, correct?
Yeah.
Now, blank your mind. Is it blank?
Blank is I'm gonna get it now.
All right. State the belief to yourself that no matter what I do, it is always enough. And tell me how that feels.
It feels expansive and light and much better.
What are the nature of the thoughts you now have?
More creative. But I have more freedom to try different approaches to the job search.
All right, hold that. Now, the first unpreferred belief. I can never do enough. Regenerate the emotion that goes with that. Do you feel that?
Yeah.
Ace?
Yes.
Now, in your imagination, perhaps restating that you can never do enough and feeling that, how do you see yourself acting? What do you do when you believe, feel, and think this way? Describe the you in your imagination, maintaining that feeling.
With that feeling, I, in my actions, kind of apologize for my existence. I feel like I'm imposing on people because I'm not being good enough.
Oh. Do you paradoxically find that even though you are not doing enough, you even still have a hesitation to do more?
I do. I feel like I should do more, but I don't.
Now again, put that aside and back to the preferred belief. No matter what you do, it is always enough. It is the right amount. How does that feel?
Great.
Now, what do you see the you in your imagination doing?
Reacting or communicating with people in a more equal and free way.
Do you see the difference?
Yes.
Do you feel the difference?
Yes.
All right. Both are true. You get to pick. And that is all there is to it. You have not left your seat. You have not been involved in situations, yet you have just created emotions that correspond to each belief effortlessly. And this is how effortless it always can be. If you are willing to create that new belief without invalidating the old one. Now, may I ask you another question? Can you, maintaining the you prefer to be, that you always do just enough, appreciate the value of having felt the other way because it led you to this new realization?
Yes, I can.
You now are the new preferred you. And if you choose, you can continue to be that you. The moment you felt that, you were that you. You are that you. And since again you went nowhere, there was no outer influence, you simply decided to create that you. You can do that in any given moment. And when you do so, you are assessing from your transcendental point of view and then choosing and performing the actions consistent with your preference because you say so.
Okay. Then if you can, tell me where this voice in my, as I try to hold that new preferential belief that anything that I do is okay, there is a voice or something coming up saying that this may just be a spiritual thing and
just.
and it's not really going to work.
All right. Well, you are spirit and your body is a reflection of your consciousness. So yes, what you are saying is one perspective, but again, from your transcendental point of view, you can discuss that it is not the only perspective. And using it to decide that you no longer prefer that uses that creation and allows it to transform. So let us proceed. Speak to that voice right now.
To the voice.
Ace, what again did you perceive the voice to say? Repeat it.
It said, "This may not work. Be careful."
All right. How does that feel?
Not good.
All right. Blank. Now state the reciprocal. State the opposite.
Anything that I do is fine.
And this is how my reality is right now because I say so. How does that feel?
It feels great, but the fear is that it won't actually manifest.
Well, it won't if you don't act upon it. But it already has once you conjure up that emotion. You are that you. Now speak to that voice as that you. And when you act, when you move, when you do anything, conjure up that you. Hand over the situation to the new preferred you. See what it does, and the performing of those actions, shall we say, can yield no other result but having the reality reflect back to you that you are already that you. So it is up to you. And those voices are of assistance, for they always allow you to see where do you stand. And if you simply take them as options rather than the rules, then that's what they are. And then that's the only effect they can have on you. That is an option. Yes. Yes, it is true. This is just spiritual mumbo jumbo. That is one option. Another option is that I am this me. Now let's bring in and factor in your preference and your worthiness to pick your preference, particularly in light of the fact that that preference is an unconditionally loving approach, a approach of service to other individuals. Therefore, what could possibly, even in your old thinking, be wrong with that?
Well, I feel much better with the new preferential me that we just described. But how do I deal with that voice coming from somewhere?
By always giving yourself another choice. By not taking that voice as the way things are. Reminding yourself again, first of all, that it is one option. All right, here's a voice. An option. Very good. More options I have, the more well-rounded I am. Now, where's the preferential me? Oh, here it is. Oh, I feel that. Now, what does the preferential me voice say? Oh, it says, this is me. This is how I prefer to be. This is how I will be most effective in my life. Well, look at these. They're absolutely equal. I choose this. This is how I would act. I act that way.
But it seems there's a force to that voice that I can't suppress that easily.
The point is that you are not providing the alternative and then performing the actions consistent with the alternative. And when you do, the first time that you do, the voice becomes more quiet because it is not relative to who you are now. It was relevant to who you were, but you cannot silence it by ignoring it. You can only, so to speak, silence it by acknowledging it, providing an alternative, and choosing them. Equal choices. Do you at least conceptually understand this?
Definitely.
Do you at least understand that in any given moment you can sit down, take a step back, and perform any version that your imagination enhances of this particular perspective?
Yes.
Therefore, go forth. You have the tools.
Okay.
But again, it will always be the actions that you take.
Okay.
And when you do act according to the new belief, you support the new belief. You enrich it. You make it the most relative thing to you. When you listen to the unpreferred voice and perhaps act without giving yourself the alternative, you are supporting the old voice. You are strengthening the old voice. And only because your actions are consistent with it. Again, the actions are where you can liberate yourself. And by stepping back from your transcendental point of view, you can then at least weigh out the alternatives, the options, and generate at least one preferred option. Because when you have two things that are absolutely equal and you simply prefer one, it does not take much to choose it. And once you do and generate a specific set of actions and perform those actions, the results of those actions will change the whole picture and also the volume of the voice.
Okay, I understand.
All right.
One of the things that I wanted to do before I got into my next job was to try and transform my consciousness from a place of fear, which I have had all my life, fear being outwardly focused on protecting myself or worrying about what other people are thinking of me, to a place of accepting myself the way I am, trusting that I'm completely safe and that no one can really hurt me. And I'm able to do that more, yet there are still many times when I find that I'll just all of a sudden step back, observe my consciousness, and notice that I'm focusing on someone else and what they're thinking of me. And I tend to say, why are you doing that? I don't want to do that anymore. So my question is, one, how can I do that less? And two, am I holding myself back in my job search by saying, because I haven't done that yet, I'm not going to allow myself to find a job now?
To some degree for question number 2.
Because I want to let go of that. I mean, I need to get a job, so I want to get rid of any blocks like that.
Oh, well, again, to go back to question number 1, use it all. And we do not mean acknowledge that you are fearing and again, simply let it go at that. Go the next step in that moment while you feel it. That is when it is relevant to you. And that is when you ask yourself, what must I believe to feel this? You will get an answer. Viewing it now, so to speak, in retrospect, you do not have the emotional momentum to truly glean. So therefore, in the moment, use it all. First of all, whatever the emotion is, fear, feel it. Don't squash it. Don't squelch it. Feel it. And while you are feeling it, go similarly through the approach that we just rendered in saying, well, what must I believe to feel this right now under these circumstances?
I know that intellectually. Oh, tell you?
By the way, when you know that intellectually, you are that. So from this point forward, use these creations. Use these emotions when they come around, rather than saying, oh no, it's the me I don't like again. Say, oh, thank you. Thank you for screaming at me. This is what if I look at and transform, I will liberate the portions of myself I still enslave.
But I have this feeling that from the way you've talked before, that we can do this stuff, it sounds from the way you talk, instantaneously. And so I tend to put myself down by saying, well, why am I doing it again?
But that is not the new you. The new you would not speak like that. Remind yourself you're the new you. Remind yourself that you do not have to change. You already have changed. And the timing of when things come up need not be looked at as the clearing away, as so much the simple timing to integrate, the timing to transform. Trust the timing, but also trust that you are the new you. And at least give yourself the phrase, all right, I hear that voice. What would the new me do? Now that I am the new me, the old me's voice is just, shall we say, poking in there. What is the new me's approach? I am this new me. Now what will I do that is reflective of who I now am? Then you have changed completely in the moment. And what may appear to have the effect of processing is so automatic that you are already the new you.
Okay, but why do they continue to come up? Why can't we just do it once and then be that way for the rest of our lives?
Well, you can. The issues that are quote unquote coming up now are not the same issues. And if you are assigning them the same meaning and they keep quote unquote coming back, obviously that is not the message.
Okay.
So be a little bit more open-minded as to what any symbol is delivering to you. And if you say, well, I've learned this from that and that still keeps happening, say, well, obviously that's not why I created it. Or maybe that's one of the reasons I created it. Now let's look at the others so that it can transform.
Okay. One of the things that I've been doing is writing down my dreams and then interpreting them to the best of my ability. And it seems that very often the dreams reflect attitudes that I hold during my waking dream reality, such as fear that someone's going to hurt me. And I am assuming often that the value that dream gives to my daytime consciousness is to illuminate
The fact that you feel that within yourself is a portion of yourself that upon discovering could hurt you, and it cannot. Again, for the first time, that you can create a portion of yourself which will be of harm to you is what is allowing the evaluation of these issues. So just simply centering your consciousness in the concept that whatever you find out is of service, may be irrelevant to who you choose to be, and therefore will be on its way, will be one of those voices ever quieting till it's simply so irrelevant to you, you can't hear it, but you contain everything. So, therefore, some of those things may seem negative, some may seem positive. What you experience is what you focus on. And when you focus on one particular portion of your totality and create that vibration, for instance, positive, then the negative is still there, but cannot find the surface of your consciousness, for it is irrelevant to the choices you have made.
Okay.
Is this of assistance?
Yes, but could I ask, why do I continue to have dreams where I seem to be threatened?
Well, first of all, we have just had this conversation. And I assume at least that you have not gone home, went to sleep, had a dream, and came back. So therefore, do not assume that it will continue in that way. But again, even the assumption that anything that you contain can be used in a positive way can translate to an action in that dream of facing whatever you are running from, of reconciling with whatever you are battling. Then you are owning it and realizing, whether or not you prefer it, that it serves you in some way. So turn around and face that bear.
And
that will be the action consistent with the new belief and will transform it altogether. Then you will find once you transform it, it does not come around again.
You mean to act on the message of it?
Yes.
Okay. And just one last question. What is our consciousness supposed to contain? I mean, this human exploration, it seems that we can't hold everything that all that is has.
Well, now what you are simply describing is one of the filters that you create your consciousness through, that you sometimes call mind or mentality. That is simply a physiological representation, in a sense, of the intersection of consciousness with physicality. So therefore, from the perspective of your consciousness, yes, you can perceive and make sense of it all. From the perspective of this chosen focus, one of the definitions of this focus is to have much or most of it not be relevant so you can concentrate on a particular discovery or exploration. When you, in that sense, transcend, then you will be experiencing more of that totality. But if you simply take for granted that what you are experiencing is what will serve you the most within this framework, then again, all that other stuff will simply be irrelevant. And what you need to know will be right there when you need to know it.
Just trust that my unconsciousness will bring forth the information I need when I need it.
Well, it already does, so yes, perhaps trust in its already existing mechanism, yes.
Okay. Thank you.
And to you. Shedding.
Elan.
Oh. Female.
Oh, thank you. It's good to speak with you again, Elan.
And you.
I have had a period of accelerated growth like a lot of us are having. And I find that I'm very happy, centered, emotionally, spiritually, just really fine and enjoying it.
Well, thank you.
Time, but my body is going to hell. I ache all the time, and I'm just wondering, what must I believe?
Well, let's get practical about it.
Yes, let's do.
What does this aching, as you have called it, force you to do that you would not have done without it?
Not a thing.
Oh.
Keep on going because I want to, but I'm aware that my body doesn't feel good and that I'm aware of all the aches and pains. It's not bad enough to really slow me down.
Oh.
But I don't want the pain.
All right. A simple suggestion.
All right.
When you are in your meditative state, simply envision a golden honey-like substance. Allow yourself to immerse your body within that substance. Allow that substance to seep into your physical body till, in that sense, you are permeated with it. Allow it to work itself into your joints, the physical articulations in your body. Allow it to lubricate and fortify. This simple healing energy can be all that is necessary to the entire cessation of those aches and pains.
That sounds really fun.
Well, if you have fun with it, you will have more success, yes.
So I don't have to really worry about anything deeper than...
If there is nothing obvious that comes up, go on your way. Allow yourself to re-empower yourself, utilizing your own natural ability to heal. And if in that process some issues do come up, which they may, then look at them.
Thank you.
But if there is nothing obvious, do not fixate. Simply move on with a positive perspective, with some positive action. And in the doing of the positive thing, then something may come up. But if not, it simply won't matter.
Good. Thank you.
And to you. Shedding.
Elan.
Ace male.
Elan, about 6 months ago, I had a conversation with you with my friend discussing light trance channeling, which my friend and I went on to do with great success, and we covered a great deal of territory. Recently, within the past month, at a time concurrent with this channeling, my friend on occasion has zoned out, as I describe it. They will just suddenly go silent, and then suddenly they will bring in a different reality, a parallel reality, and start living that in this time frame. It's not a problem or a disturbance, it's just something different. I wonder if you could speak on this phenomena.
Simply, it gives them an opportunity to touch many other aspects of your simultaneous existence, but it also gives you the opportunity to look at how this affects you. And how does it?
It expands my concept and my real concept of the universe.
All right.
And gives reality to the theory that I already have that I exist in other planes. It gives it more reality because now I'm actually living it through watching another person do it in front of me, so to speak.
Now realize the following. You can only perceive something if you contain it. So perhaps it is now an option for you, if it excites you, if it is attractive to you, to allow yourself to match that vibration, to create your version of what you perceive is being done. Then you will get similar results.
I understand.
And that in and of itself is the reason.
I understand. In reference to the discussion we have had tonight on the transcendental point of view, I have been investigating what you are describing tonight as the transcendental point of view. In addition to that, I speak to myself and get answers back, and I feel that I'm making a connection to my higher self.
Well, again, in a sense, for connection implies you are disconnected and need to reestablish. You are simply realizing that you are your higher self. And in the moments that you do, completely identify with your higher self and can, in a sense, seemingly download large bits of information. Yes.
Very interesting. And would you be interested in giving us an exercise which we can participate in, which will take place tonight or over the next few nights as you have done in the past?
Not this evening.
Thank you.
However, with you in particular, we will interact in dream state with such the fulfillment of that request.
Thank you very much. Until that time.
And to you, over there.
Elan,
Ace.
what's going on with my bikes?
You are, in that sense, experimenting with other forms of balance. Do you understand the reference?
No.
Think about it. What is the nature of the mechanical difficulty?
I wish I knew. Well, one, it's not idling,
All right.
and the other one just doesn't. It cuts out.
All right. Now, by extension, how does this apply to you? Are you idling smoothly?
Oh no.
Are you moving forward in a fluid fashion according to your excitement with integrity?
Oops.
Next chatting.
Elan?
One moment. Are you through?
Yeah.
All right. Do understand that you will literally mirror or reflect in the stuff around you ideas within your consciousness, and can, in much the way that we do, simply allow it to be most obvious. But your willingness to take the actions in that direction will then have a reflection across the board that will even seem to extend to your machinery.
Thank you.
And to you over there.
Getting back to dreams and dream reality, I have a question about things I've been experiencing over the past year or so. I'm not sure if it's astral travel. I experience myself leaving my body, and occasionally I'll end up in a physical reality, which looks like it does when I'm awake, but often I end up in a reality where I'm, in my bedroom or in my apartment, and there's these other strange things there.
Well, how exciting.
I like it a lot, but
But.
what I'm wondering is whether you could shed some light on where I actually am, because sometimes I perceive my experiences as almost in a progression of, I'm at this level and this is the way I'm.
Well, understand that it is a rather arbitrary question. For when you quote unquote astrally travel, you do not per se leave your body, for you are not in your body to begin with. You simply shift your point of view from what you perceive to be the point within the totality of your consciousness represented by your body to another point, which then compared to the body seems external. So you are simply in that sense accessing many other portions of experience that you create within your entire totality. Now, to apply this in perhaps you can say a constructive way, not that you have not. If you wish to go to a particular place in that state, all you simply need do is conjure up how that place allows you to feel, rather than analytically mapping out the place itself. And that emotion will activate, will propel you, in a sense, in that state, to that particular point of view from your point of view. This is, as we have said, one of the instances in which you can visit our society directly and simply by allowing yourself to conjure up how interacting with us allows you to feel, will you find yourself in, shall we say, a very unusual place. Does that answer the question, or was there something more specific you are seeking?
I'm gonna ask something else.
Oh.
Also. The places where I'm ending up, are they actually there, or are they more a projection?
Some are what you would consider to be direct physical existences. Others are, shall we say, in the realm you would label astral, which is a quasi-physical portion within your totality, whereby there is a very loose relationship between the having of an idea and its instant manifestation. In a sense, you can say a thought form are you in a sea of thought energy. But there is also literal, in that sense, translation. And you can say that, are you to take us up on the offer to visit us? What you will be perceiving is a, not this, but a physical reality, no less physical than yours, though it may feel a bit more dreamlike while you are there, because you will automatically, to some degree, compare it to this.
Thank you.
And to you. There will be time, but for a few more sharings. Male.
Real quickly, I'll be brief. My friend Lydia has a daughter, Sophia. She's asked me to ask you what your eyes look like. Can you describe that for me briefly?
Yes, they are almond, shaped, upturned, and you would perceive them as black.
That's basically what I thought.
Yes, trust it.
It's a question from her. She's 4 years old, so that's right. I wanted to just
Oh,
check on that.
perhaps you can say, bug-eyed, if you wish. We will take no offense.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
And to you, male.
Elan.
Ace.
Last time I had a chance to discourse with you concerning wealth and some of the belief systems I had around
Ace.
wealth.
And we thank you for that particular timing allowed us to share something that, shall we say, was germane to many.
Yes. Well, it has allowed me a good deal of release and constructing some preferred beliefs. But I find myself one step further into it, and I have another belief. And
all right.
All right. This one relates to the belief that there just isn't really enough resources, physical resources, trees, minerals, all the things that we...
All right, but
yes,
to use your terminology, before you proceed, there are more than enough resources upon your planet. There is no overpopulation problem. What there is a disproportionate distribution of goods, services, and land.
All
So
right.
therefore, within that framework, understand that you can believe either. And one will lead to particular actions that will perpetuate lack and limitation. The other will allow you to realize the abundance that is already there. Can you at least conceptually see that both are true?
Yes, but the disproportionate allotment of resources is I consider gaining more wealth and acquiring more wealth. It would seem that I would be gaining a disproportionate share of resources.
Well, disproportionate to what? For it will be precisely proportional to who you define yourself to be, and the universe is supplying you with the abundance necessary to continue to be who you are. This applies across the board. And if deservability is minute, then the reflective supplying of abundance from the universe to that individual may seem minute. But you're deciding to realize, acknowledge your abundance does not take from them. They always have that choice as well.
So I'm not harming or in anybody else's way.
Well, you will know in the doing of the things of your life whether one particular instance is in or out of your integrity in that way. But if you simply proceed with your excitement within your integrity, how could it harm anyone else?
I guess I look at, like, if I buy a real nice automobile, and I think of all the people on our planet buying that kind of automobile, how much resource it would take.
But you have not chosen to be, at least from your perspective, all these people. You cannot be responsible for any of their choices. Responsible to them, yes, but only by being responsible for you and your choices. And should you desire that automobile, you deserve it. It is not that they are going and forcibly removing the automobile from someone else and taking it to you.
All right.
Are we getting there? And if not, please continue.
Well, I feel it like nudging. There's a nudging in me that says, yeah, but if everybody, I think everybody deserves to have this.
Yes, but they need to exercise that deservability. They need to demonstrate their ability to respond to their own set of circumstance. And nothing you can do can make them do so. You could buy them the car. And if they are in the place of their exploration where they do not feel they deserve it, from one means or another, they will not have it very long. So you can only be responsible for your decision, for who you are. And what you are saying about how you feel about them is a valid perspective. You can say it is one truth, and it will feed you all the rationales of that truth. But when you then establish the preferred you will get other truths, other relevances, other ways to look at it. So in that sense, if you will establish your preferred you in much the way that we had shared with the other individual and plug in an alternative each time that voice comes up, then you will allow yourself to dialogue with that voice and use even that.
Okay.
All right.
I had a dream that I just wanted to quickly touch base. I saw 4 whales. I was looking out to the sea, and I saw 4 whales jump completely out of the water and then splash back down. Is there a symbology to that?
There are many. But shall we say the most relevant one in this instance to you will be your beginning to recognize yourself as your higher self. For whales are the embodiment of the higher self of many dolphins.
Sounds good.
Chew on that one for a while. At this timing, allow us now to once again thank each and every one of you for providing your own unique, special point of view. Each time we interact with another eye of creation, with another point of view, it expands our ability, our point of view, for we are exploring expansion. In fact, so much expansion that we are beginning to just consider non-physicality altogether, not as an escape from physicality, for physical life has been an ecstatic joy to our civilization. But as our point of view expands, there no longer, shall we say, is the physical embodiment. And therefore, the next exploration is non-physical. We thank you for your continuing willingness to express who you are in no uncertain terms. And if you simply decide that there is something you wish to change and conjure up the you already containing that change, you will bring along with you and access from your transcendental point of view a very useful tool. Therefore, we bid you a most fond and loving, pleasant dream.
Elan,
Ace.
will you tell us a stellar joke before you leave?
All right. Three Essassani beings are walking down the road. And two say to the third, "But you are always being of service to other individuals. You always do things for other people. What's in it for you?" That was the punchline. For in our society, we realize that the serving of others is the serving of the self. We thank you. Good evening.